Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be going over how to boost your web vital scores using dynamic imports with NextJS. So let's get right into it. Alright, so here I have a NextJS application already initiated, as well as the NextJS docs and the dev server for the NextJS application. So I'm going to be going over how to use dynamic imports to boost your web core vitals using NextJS. So there's two ways you can use dynamic imports, and one of them being if you have, in this instance, a class or a Node.js import that you want to import dynamically on, say, a button click. So here we have just a normal Next.js app. I just have everything gutted out with just a button that logs on click. So in some instances, say you have a button that has a form field capture that pops up after you click the button, and you want that form field to instantiate after you click the button. So you could do it this way, which is, we'll just say, for example, this scene class that I have here is your pop-up or your script or whatever you want to use in that situation. So what you could do is do button on click is equal to new scene. So we'll import scene right there. And so you could do that, and that would work. Scene init, computation complete. So I just have a billion iterations going here to slow down the scene for demonstration purposes. And that would work, and that would work fine, just as long as your scene file is pretty small. But once you get into the point where you have a scene file or script or whatever you want to call it that is pretty big, has many dependencies, has async files, you're not going to want to just run new scene right here. You're going to want to dynamically import it. And so that's what we're going to do here. So the only change here, which it's pretty simple, is you're going to first get rid of the import up here. We're not going to import it up here. And we're going to change this function here. So this function is going to turn into an async function, and we're going to make it have brackets there. And we're going to create the scene within this async function. So here we're going to do const scene equals await import dot slash components slash scene dot js. Whoops, I did not mean to. Let me wrap this in parentheses. I want parentheses here. Dot default. So then const sc equals new scene. Reload. Click. Scene init. Computation complete. So this might not seem like a big difference here because the scene file is so small and there's not much being done. But this is really, really important when you have a bigger file or some larger dependencies that you need to be loaded. So the second way that we can do this is with components. So this way I feel is even more powerful. So we're going to get rid of the button here. And I also have in here card.jsx, which is just a card with a script to some random GitHub repository, so just fetching a random JavaScript file. So normally you would just place it in here, and let me get rid of that. We don't need that. Actually, I'll keep that. Okay, so we're going to import card and then render card here. So once again, if you have a component here that has something in here like a large dependency, for example, I've had projects before where I have to render a reCAPTCHA script on each form. So I would have 4 separate form fields and form components, each of them having their own reCAPTCHA, which I believe was 120 KB each. And that was a problem in the beginning to load all those automatically right off the rip. where instead down the line I realized I could use dynamic imports, which were very, very important in boosting my Web Vital score. So similar to the previous example, we're going to get rid of this import, but instead we're going to replace it with import dynamic from NextJS. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have our component, but we're going to dynamically render it here above the function. So in this instance, its card is equal to dynamic, and in dynamic it is a function where we're going to import we're going to import ./components/card. The second piece of this function is going to be a object which we are going to declare props. So here we can declare SSR is equal to false if we need it to load on the client side, which most of the time you will if you're going to be using dynamic imports. So here is all the code we're replacing the previous import with. We're importing dynamic, and then we're creating the dynamic card component. And then this, we don't have to change at all because this is no longer the normal card, is the dynamic card. So if we save here and go here, we don't notice any difference. We have the render from the page and the render from the card. But as I said before, if you have something in these cards that you need to be rendered later, or they have dependencies that are slowing down your application, you can use dynamic import to boost your Web Vital score and boost all of your other things like first contentful paint. It'll also fix the reduced unused JavaScript problem, because that is a big problem that many people run into, and dynamic rendering will help that quite a lot. And actually a third way you can dynamic render is using a event listener. So if I have a button here on click, we're going to run a function on button click. So we'll create that function here on button click. And what we want to do here is have a state variable. So is clicked, and set is clicked. And we want to default that to useState, import that, of false. So what we can do here actually is put a conditional down here where the card is. And we're going to keep this dynamic import here. And all we're going to do here is put a conditional. It is clicked. And if it is clicked, then we want card here. And if not, we're just going to put a React fragment. And so on button clicked, we're going to set is clicked to true. And this way, this is even a different way that you can also do this. That if you need something to show up on click, you can do it this way, which I prefer to use conditionals because I think they're clean, they're clearly very efficient using dynamic rendering. So if we go in here, refresh, and click, there's our card. It comes later, but it's perfect. It's exactly how we need it. It renders later. It doesn't inhibit the first contentful paint, and it's going to boost our overall Web Vital score. So that's it for that video, short video today. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. And if you guys have any other suggestions for future videos or suggestions about this video that could be improved, I'd greatly appreciate to hear those suggestions. And yeah, that's all. I'll see you guys in the next one.